a todos. Es una enorme alegría tenerlos de nuevo aquí. Hoy es la tercera sesión. Recuerden que el marco de nuestras sesiones es el servicio desinteresado y cómo Swami nos enseñó que a través del servicio desinteresado es que realmente podemos educar como debemos hacerlo. Por eso esta fue la primera de las conferencias y en la sesión pasada tuvimos el gusto de escuchar a Esma, quien nos compartió su manera de trabajar el bullying, cómo evitar el bullying en las instituciones educativas, que nos pasa en todas partes del mundo. Así que fue una sesión también enriquecedora que nos ayudó con muchas herramientas valiosas y hoy tenemos el gusto de tener una invitada súper especial que es Katinka. Katinka nos va a hablar hoy sobre su experiencia en Haití y para que sepamos cómo va a ser la sesión, antes de presentarla a ella un poco más a fondo, voy a pedirle a Raksha que nos diga cómo va a ser la traducción simultánea para que ustedes puedan escuchar toda la conferencia sin ninguna dificultad. Rakshita, adelante.
Hola a todos, es una alegría estar con todos ustedes hoy aquí y como dijo nuestra querida Esther Cris, simplemente voy a explicar cómo funciona el tema de la traducción porque la voy a hacer simultáneamente, no va a interferir con lo que va a hablar Katinka por Zoom y yo iré mandando audios cortitos por el grupo WhatsApp que se ha creado y serán de unos 30 segundos o así de duración. Lo bueno que tiene este sistema es que iré mandando los audios a medida que yo vaya escuchando a Katinka, la voy traduciendo simultáneamente y ustedes podrán ir escuchando lo que ella diga en inglés. Por eso les sugiero que cuando estén ahora en la conferencia Zoom, que no pongan el volumen en cero, sino que pongan el volumen de una forma que ustedes, chao, que sí puedan escuchar a Katinka, pero a la misma vez el audio de los WhatsApps que sea un poquito más elevado para que puedan escuchar la traducción también en castellano. Lo bueno que tiene el sistema WhatsApp es que no hay que ir dándole todo el rato al play para que se vaya reproduciendo, sino que una vez que ustedes den al primero, automáticamente van a ir surgiendo pues que las siguientes van reproduciéndose solas. Y así lo hemos hecho muchas veces en España y funciona muy bien. Así que nada, disfrutemos todos de esta maravillosa conferencia que nos va a dar también Katinka. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ti, Raksha. Y pues la buena sorpresa es que como estos audios quedan también registrados en el WhatsApp, las personas que no pueden ver hoy la presentación pueden ver el video, pero también escuchar la traducción, porque hay varias personas que no logran entrar por el horario, pero van a contar con las dos ayudas, así que no lo van a perder. Hay un grupo de docentes y otras personas que están escuchando las conferencias después. Así que para ellos también queda toda esta información. Muchísimas gracias por este servicio. Y ahora, entonces me dirijo nuevamente a ustedes para introducir a Katinka Van Lawsweerde. Katinka, bienvenida. Ella nació en los
Gracias.
Países Bajos y se trasladó a Francia a los 14 años, donde todavía vive hoy en día. Desde que comenzó la educación en valores humanos en 1996, ha sido profesora voluntaria y ha impartido formación para ayudar a integrar los valores humanos en una variedad de culturas, de contextos, trabajando con niños, con jóvenes, con adultos, en sitios tan distintos como Laos, Tailandia, Estados Unidos, Haití y varios países de Europa. En el 2005, Katinka tomó el diplomado de educación en valores humanos Sathya Sai en Tailandia y allí enseñó inglés y francés en la escuela Sathya Sai de ese país en 2008 y 2009. El año siguiente ayudó a integrar la educación en valores humanos en una escuela experimental en Nueva York. Así que fíjense la belleza. Ella aprende en un lado y lleva su semilla a otros lados, pero no termina ahí. Poco después del terremoto del 2010, fue a Haití como voluntaria no médica de la Fundación Mundial Sri Sathya Sai a ese país. Terminó pasando un total de 9 meses en la capital de Haití, siendo responsable de la distribución de alimentos y de un programa de becas para 27 niños, enseñando valores humanos todo el tiempo. Ayudó a los jóvenes locales a poner en marcha la escuela primaria ABC for Life y conoció al señor Joseph, que acababa de abrir una pequeña escuela en tiendas de campaña en un campo. Su escuela ha crecido hasta convertirse en 2 escuelas en la actualidad. Para seguir ayudando a los 580 niños indigentes y a los 41 empleados de estas 3 escuelas, cofundó una organización sin ánimo de lucro en los Países Bajos, Monty Moon, Buen Niño en criollo haitiano. Katinka es formadora del Instituto Sathya Sai de Educación de Europa del Sur desde el año 2011. Bueno, Katinka, bienvenida. Te damos la
Gracias,
palabra. Estamos orgullosos y muy contentos de escucharte hoy. Adelante. Voy a
muchas
poner tú.
gracias.
Voy a poner tú.
Estoy ah, enseñando en el Instituto del Norte, Europa del Norte, y es bueno ver la cooperación entre institutos.
Así es verdad. Katinka
Mm, mm,
habla un poquito de español, aunque no lo habla tan rápido como ella quisiera, pero va a hablarnos
mm.
en inglés y Raksha por eso nos va a traducir.
Yeah.
Adelante, Katinka.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. We will talk a bit about the experiences in Haiti, as it is a situation where we developed education and human values in a very unusual context. I first went there in 2010, right after the earthquake, and there were so many young people who were so interested in learning new things and who would come visit with the volunteers of the Satyasai International Organization there, so that it was very inviting to start sharing, of course, what I'm so passionate about, education and human values. So this presentation, I will share some of those experiences, some of the techniques that we used in those circumstances, because I firmly believe that we have to adapt to the circumstances in any community, in any situation. In Haiti, it was quite extreme because of the earthquake, but in every situation, we have to be aware of different elements. And this training was for young people and also for teachers, and most of the teachers simply didn't have education, formal teacher training at all. So what we will look at is how to use human values in the community, some examples, and some of the lessons that I learned there. Next slide. So this adventure has been going on for 14 years now. I have weekly, sometimes daily contact with the directors of the 3 schools that we support since 2010. Then there were 2. In 2018, a 3rd school was open. And today we support 580 students, 30 teachers, 11 staff members. Since 2021, the children get a warm meal every day, and that's often the only meal they can really count on. The schools I'm very attached to because the commitment of the teachers is tremendous. They literally have been risking their lives over the last year because of the terrible violence that's going on there. And therefore, it's all the more important that they share their love and show their commitment and are there for the children. So our aim, of course, in any human values program is to make the schools an environment of love, respect, and a place for human excellence. And these schools are special in that they are open to children who otherwise would not be able to go to school because they lack the finances. In Haiti, most of the schools are private schools, and people have to pay a lot of money to be able to go there. Our schools are free. When I say our, it's because I feel so connected to them and because the Dutch nonprofit and the love and help of many, many people make it possible to offer this free schooling to these children. Next slide, please. Just a little reminder, I mean, when we do this seminar from Europe, people don't even know where Haiti is. You, of course, know that very well. It shares its island with the Dominican Republic. It has about 12 million people, and today more than 70% of the people live under the poverty line. And when the people I deal with, it seems much higher than that even. The situation has been getting more and more difficult instead of improving, especially since the murder of the Haitian president in July 2021. We hope that some positive change will come, but for the moment the situation is quite difficult. Only 50% of the children, and that mostly in the cities, go to kindergarten. About 88% go to elementary school, but many of them cannot finish school and have many interruptions. And in our schools, the children are often way too old for their classroom, but we make it a point to allow also older children who did not have the chance to go to school when their age group should have gone to school to still come and learn. So we have children in our schools from age 3 to 20, even though it goes only from kindergarten to 6th grade. Next slide, please. When I arrived in Haiti, it was 2 months after the earthquake. The CSI organization had been there from a few days after the earthquake, and by then there were medical camps every single week. And a wonderful devotee from Argentina had started a food program, cooking food for children in orphanages, in camps, and on the street. And this has been going on for 5 years. Quite an incredible achievement. But it's just to make the point that when people are living a crisis, of course, the first thing we should do is attend to their basic needs. So here you see some of the children in that period who were getting a daily meal when we first started the little ABC school that I will talk about more. Of course, a lot of children were traumatized, and so many people lost family members, and so many people were injured, and so many schools were destroyed. And so it was really important to, in a very simple way, do whatever we could. Simplicity is really the magic word, basically in every situation, but especially in a situation that is so stressful and completely upside down as after the earthquake in Haiti. And yeah, we just had very, very simple things. For example, during this school feeding, the children, you know, they were little street kids and they were just coming out of the camps and they would fight sometimes. And so one of the things was to have two of the boys who were fighting together and say, listen, you be responsible for distributing the water today. You have to make sure every child gets a glass of water. And so they had to work together. And so after about 20 minutes of that, I went back to them and I said, well, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to fight or do you prefer to serve water to the children? Well, they had to agree that serving water to the children was better than fighting. And so it was just a teeny weeny example of how to change the situation, not punishing them through some punishment that they would be used to, but helping them to discover that there are other ways that are better and more pleasant. And funnily enough, there was a young girl, 13 years old, and she was about the only one who was able to direct these children and to make them sit down in a disciplined way. And so it was a child helping the other children, which was great. Next slide, thank you. So next slide is good. Yeah. What I found so incredible, no, sorry, yeah. What I found so incredible is that a child born in Haiti can become only 45% as productive as it could be if only it had access to healthcare, food, and education. This really, really touched my heart. These children have the same rights, the same dreams, the hopes, the talents, the needs as we all do. Yet, which chance do they get? How can we help them? And this is true for any child that is born in difficult situations, which we have in all of our neighborhoods, really. This is really their chance of life, their chance to evolve, their chance to contribute something. So, this is one of the big motivating factors that just kept growing within me by being in touch with these children and children worldwide, really. And of course, we also help them develop love for their country, and we have the hope that they will be able to contribute something positive to their country after all these difficulties that they go through. So how do we do that? Next slide. We found that connecting through SSEHV activities is such an incredibly fun way because it really brings out the child in every single one of us. And a lot of the parents or teachers or young adults, they themselves did not have an experience of doing these fun activities. The school system in Haiti is very, what we would call old-fashioned, where the children often simply have to repeat what the teacher says without having to really think about it or without being creative with it. So here we are doing a game where you throw a ball of cotton to each other, and every time you throw it, you say something positive about the other person that you throw it to. So you say your name, and then you say the name of the other person, or if you don't know the person, you throw it to them and say something positive that you can notice to create a human web and show our positive connection to each other. And it's so beautiful when you're talking about human values, is to let people know, but those human values, everyone has them. It's inside of everyone. And that's the first point, to connect together. Of course, we already talked a little bit about the context in the sense that you need to take into account if all the children are extremely hungry, they're not going to be able to be open to doing other things or to listening to stories or sing together. So to take that into account, that when people can come, I admire you being here so early. That's really incredible. So part of the journey in Haiti was how to apply some of the activities that I had learned elsewhere and some of the theory to the setting that we have there. Something that's very important is to know your audience. And what really helps is to be able to work closely with someone from the target group. So here we had the great advantage that many young adults were so interested, they would come every day to the house with the volunteers to learn how to help the children in their neighborhood and how to grow themselves. Why are we even proposing the SSEHV activities? Is there a request for it? Did anyone ask you, or do you seek to remedy problems such as Esma presented last time, when there's a discipline problem in the classroom, for example? And so here, the young adults were interested because they wanted to help their community. Teachers were interested, and other people were just interested because they were curious and excited about the different activities that we started to do. It's nice to be able to integrate the 5 methods of the direct methods that we all learned about, to sing, to tell stories, to do activities, to use prayer and citations. And this we did to such a degree that people ended up coming 3 times a week we had a really like a club of human values with 30 people who came 3 times a week because we did all kinds of experiments, had dialogues, and people really enjoyed it. So, yeah, the results are always difficult to see because we plant a little seed, as we just spoke about earlier. We plant a little seed, and those we can trust that those human values will sprout because your conscience will constantly start to nudge you and to ask, well, is what you're doing correct? Let's go to the next slide. So these are some of the objectives, of course, personal development. Uh, you know all about that. As I said, in Haiti, a lot of the teachers have no formal training. Many of them are still high school students themselves, or they have a totally different profession. They might, I might ask before I started training a little questionnaire. So, what is your profession and which grade do you teach? And they might answer, I'm a plumber and I teach third grade. So that's quite interesting, which means that they were very open to the trainings because they would learn so many new things. They had a lot of room for that. They had no formal previous training. Um, it's so important to keep in mind that it's about the personal development because we are the example. It's about creating awareness and tapping to the inner wisdom. And this creating awareness is also so wonderful through the human values. As for example, Haiti is a Christian country. I mean, most people are Christian, not everyone, but most people are Christian and they have a strong moral basis because of that. But through the human values, it was able to shed a different light, to approach it from a different angle that really then evoked something and awakened something, and also to open it up wider and wider because this idea that the divine is within us, that we are a flame of that light, is quite new to some people. So that was, yeah, that gave a good basis to continue to build on. Of course, our objective is to develop the character of the students, not through obedience, but through inner knowing what is best, through motivation, through experience, that it is so much nicer to be friendly and to get a good response than to be aggressive and all of these different things. From there, we can practice the human values both in the classroom and in the community. So integrating it in the entire environment and putting it into practice through service projects, for example, we will see that. And the goal was also to get schools, of course, to adopt the SSDHV program and to create a safe and loving school environment. On this next slide, you will see the young adults with whom we started the ABC for Life school. When I was there, these youth were still in high school and they really, really wanted to do something for the children in their neighborhood. We worked together a lot through human values activities, but also dialogue, and were able to find a school that was open in the morning and they could use the location in the afternoon to start their own little school. And they chose the name ABC for Life. And I thought that was so beautiful because they know it goes much further than just learning to read and to write, but that this is your self-transformation for life. And on the photo, the third person from the left is called Madame Gerlin. She became a teacher and is now the director of the school. And the school grew to having 160 students today from, as I said, kindergarten to 6th grade. On the next slide, you can see Mr. Joseph. He is the head of the 2 other schools that we support. He is the one who started the school in tents in a little plot of land. We were able to later rent a little house for him, which soon became too small because the need is so tremendous. And he really is an incredible person who went to this very, very poor neighborhood in order to help those children who cannot go to school because their parents cannot afford it. So today there are 2 locations, one with 285 students, the other one with 225 students. And today in all 3 of the schools, they have a summer school, which is exceptional in Haiti. It's going on right now as we speak. And we also offer some pre-professional courses to help them learn sewing and manicure and tile laying even, and some English and French. Here you see some pictures of the school. And in these schools, so in total of 580 children, they get, of course, education and books and human values education. And we train teachers. I used to go to Haiti up to 2019. Now it has become too dangerous for me to be there. So the courses have become online. But then I was able to go at least once a year for a number of weeks to give trainings. In total, something like 180 people have been trained at least one weekend, and some have come to 5, 6 different weekends. And from there, a few of the teachers have become trainers themselves. They now give the course then in of the sessions in Creole, so that also the cooks and the parents can participate, because Creole is the official language, and only those who have been to school will speak French. So what did we learn from all of this? I realized it was really important to connect to the audience. Especially, as I said, I would speak French, but not everyone feels comfortable with French or understands it all that I say, or is comfortable enough and not too shy to be able to speak it. So it was a little difficult sometimes to do question and answers or to get participations, or only the same 3 would always answer. So to have someone who speaks French and Creole to give a little resume after each session or each little segment, or to give as much group work so that the people could speak Creole among themselves, or find different ways to to help people to express themselves in a way that they feel comfortable with. That was really important, to make sure it's absolutely not top down, but that we are all together learning as we in reality are, from each other and from the human values. We cannot assume at all that we know the level of expertise of the training. Sometimes I realized I would be speaking a little bit above the head of people, or assume that they understood something. And then I found out actually it's really important to come back to the same topics over and over again, to go very slowly, to be really focused. So these are things that I learned little by little. To give some handouts is really handy, especially for the online courses, so that people can follow it at the same time and have a little visual. It's important to answer questions, of course. To build on the strength of the audience, I noticed, for example, the Haitian youth that I worked with really loved talking, and they liked the courses in philosophy that they had in the last year of high school, for those who had gone that far. And sometimes, they would go into these big, huge dialogues. So I would organize as many sessions where they had to prepare a lesson or a little speech or something like that, so that they could do that, but still in an appropriate way, without taking over completely. Others were very good at singing, others were very good at crafts. So to kind of identify that and help them shine in that way. Doing the playful and handful activities with the adults, that was one of the most heartwarming parts, because suddenly, as I said, they became like children. They enjoyed it so much. And of course, then they had the experience of the joy that you can have, how to lead the game. So that is really important in any training, I found. Silent sitting, we all know, is crucial. It really helps people to connect. And we would sometimes do the light meditation, sometimes silent sitting, sometimes a visualization. and sometimes just a breathing exercise, or even, as I will show in the next photos later, a balancing exercise. I will talk about that more. Being flexible, that's really important. Most of the time there's no electricity, so we had to really be inventive as to how to present. And they would cook a meal which would then be ready an hour before or 2 hours later. Or I would notice that the people were not really uh, ready to listen to a particular lesson that I had prepared, so I would have to do an activity at that moment and then adapt the next day. So it's always beautiful. I always have this impression. I come with this bag full of different activities and different stories and different songs and different experiences, and I can just pick out at that moment what is needed. So that's one of the ways of being flexible, and the other way is to adapt to the local means, and I will illustrate that in a minute. And using a variety of the techniques, of course. In a few cases, I was able to use a PowerPoint. Sometimes I made a mind map. I did group work, presentations interspersed with energizers and assignments as well as self-evaluation. That was really important. Let's talk about some of the activities. For example, here it's a group activity, a cooperative game, where in just a little piece of cardboard, I stuck a paintbrush. On the side of the paper is a little cup with some yellow paint, and to the cardboard I attached strings of about 1 yard, 1 meter. And 6 people can hold together the cardboard, and their assignment was in this case to paint a sun. And of course, you can also ask them to paint a house or a tree or anything you want. Um, but they really need to cooperate very carefully to be able to dip the brush into the paint and then decide which direction they're going to make the circle to make the sun. And they had a lot of fun trying to do this. And once you've done it once and you've seen it, you can easily redo this with your own students. So that's an easy activity. The next activity was where we asked people to paint a painting together on one sheet of paper. Each had a brush. There were several colors, and they were only allowed to do one paint stroke at a time without talking, without saying in advance what they wanted to paint. So one might want to paint a boat, and someone else might want to paint a tree. But somehow they had to adjust constantly to each other, figuring out what was this painting going to become in one stroke, taking turns. This was an interesting exercise to learn something about tolerance and patience and acceptance and feeling what they were feeling. Some people got quite frustrated, others kind of enjoyed it. So that was a fun activity in this sense as well. Another activity that was very funny is we had received some games from volunteers, and one was little wooden blocks, and one was pieces of Lego, and one was Meccano. And I had asked 3 teams to build the highest tower that they could build. And at first, I allowed them to talk and to discuss together what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. And it was so funny because none of them managed. The ones with the blocks, they just made a whole city without stacking anything. Each one did their own thing. With the Lego, they tried to make it a little bit high, but nothing major. And the Meccano, they didn't know what it was, and so they just kept reading the box and discussing what they should be doing, and difficult. Then I made them switch, and then I told them, please do the same thing, but now in silence. And strangely enough, that worked much better. Um, they were able to build a tower together, but it was so interesting to see how that worked and for them to discover how cooperation actually worked and how just following a simple instruction like building a tower turned out to be so complicated. In this photo, you can see that I am showing a PowerPoint on a sheet, and the electricity came from a generator that we had to put quite far because it makes a lot of noise. And on the right, and I made some posters with different illustrations of the PowerPoints so that people could look at them again and maybe copy them if they wanted to. And on the right, you see the teacher standing on one leg, kind of like a little airplane. And that was what I showed as an alternative to a concentration exercise that you could even do with young children, where um, the point is that you focus. And so here you're focusing on your equilibrium. And if you find it difficult, you can either even hold hands or touch a wall, or and then I can ask them, well, what helps you to focus? And some people find out that if you just fix one point with your eyes, you can focus much more easily and you keep your balance much better. And so there are all kinds of balancing exercises, also from yoga, that of course help this concentration and is an alternative to sitting still with your eye closed, which some children find very challenging. So, yeah, during the teacher trainings, I was surprised to discover, of course, that many teachers had no training at all. That for many it was also just a way to earn a living, but not a calling. That the system there was very teacher-centered, by learning by heart and repetition. That corporal punishment was very frequent at home and at school. So nonviolence became really one of the first and most important things to have in all of our schools. And every time there's a new teacher who comes to school, they really have to figure out, well, but how can I discipline the children without punishing them physically? And so we work a lot on that, of course, but they're really at a loss initially. And as I said before, the language level changes, so it's important to have a translator and to adapt my language to what people can understand. So some of the methods and the goals is really to let people feel, but also say that this is a process of self-transformation and that it's about awakening the inherent human values. And our goal was also to make the whole school an environment of love and nonviolent, of course. In the teacher trainings, of course, we would let the teachers present as much as possible themselves also. And we continue to do those trainings, as I said, online, and a lot of it has been on stress management, relaxation, meditation, in order to help the children. In this current photo, we can see another game that I was playing with the teachers, which is the Wild Wind Blows, which is a good game to bring out what we have in common. So because we were so many people, we made 2 circles. And normally I would stand in the middle, but here I stand in between the 2 circles, or whoever is the game leader. And you say, the wild wind blows for everyone who loves their mother. And then they have to change places as quickly as possible and find a new place across the circle. And of course, everyone who loves their mother, everyone's going to change places. But you could also say, who has a sister, who brushed their teeth today, who had breakfast today, and then more and more go into the menu in the human values, like who helped their mother, who took care of a plant, who cleaned the dishes, who offered their day to God, whatever is appropriate, and not only physical characteristics. And in that way, all the children who move places recognize that they have that in common. So that's a nice game for the playground. There are other cooperative games, and you will receive afterwards, you will receive a description of them. They're very common games. For some of them, I included this description to include the human values more obviously. So it's important in how you explain the game, so that while people are playing the game, which is of course very exciting, and they kind of get lost in it, they beforehand get this notion that, oh, this represents that, or oh, I can think of that. So it's it's enriching in that way. Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention that many schools, they don't have time to do a whole lesson with the 5 techniques, and it's easier to include the 5 techniques if you want to do a lesson every day, by having one technique per day. So you have one lesson per week. So then you can start each day just with the theme and one of the techniques. So the first day you spend 20 minutes or 15 minutes on the silent sitting, the second day on the citation, the third day on the story, the prayer, the activities, etc. So that is something that we try to do because yeah, it is actually a good reminder for the children to have a little bit every day instead of everything at once and then maybe not enough attention to it the rest of the week. Here are some beautiful testimonies, and maybe you can simply read them, because I was very surprised after one weekend of this training in a school a little bit north, in the north of Haiti, a different town, a different city. And these were all young high schoolers and a few teachers, of course, happily as well. But they got it so well. They just caught on. If someone wants to read it out loud, and if not, you can just read it for yourself. That's fine too. Okay, just a few more slides. This is something I use a lot to start. When I go into a classroom for the first time, I asked everyone, do you know you have something very special inside of you? And they're like, no. And then I start drawing this flower without anything in it, just a flower. And it's like, yeah, this is like a beautiful flower that you have inside, because actually there's this treasure. And I introduce little by little the human values. And here in the middle, it says the flower of the heart. But in working with them a little bit more, I asked them to identify what are your strong points, or what do you love about yourself, or what do you think is good in yourself. And then in the center, they will write their own good qualities. Or sometimes we will use the hand, where the children trace their hand, write a value in each finger, and then we pass it around, and other children can write good characteristics of this one child on the back, so that the children visually see something about the good qualities that they have. And on the next picture, you see how the children at the ABC school made their own flower of the heart, connecting in a different way to their own qualities and characteristics. The next slide is just where we practiced silent sitting, and this photo was quite amazing because it was taken not too long after the earthquake. So to have these children be able to sit there and actually close their eyes, which is already a big deal then, and feeling peace inside, was really beautiful. The singing is also a very good exercise because they sing in church. So a lot of children are used to singing and are not afraid to sing in front of the other children. And of course, using simple songs with the different values, as we all know, helps them to really connect to it. Here, one of the teachers is telling a story. We had organized a training where in the morning we would give some of the theory to the teachers and go over a human values lesson. And in the afternoon, we had a summer camp for 100 kids. And then the teachers had to present the lessons to the children. So here he's doing the storytelling. And every day we would increase the level of responsibility in preparing the lessons a little bit for the teachers, so that they really immediately got the experience, the theory, the experience, with the children in the afternoon and also working as a team in the morning to prepare it. So sometimes they had to create a song or sometimes they had to think of an activity. And it worked amazingly quite well. On the next slide, we see the children who illustrated the story by making a parrot that was in the story. And it's also nice when they can take this home, so they have a little reminder of what they just learned about. But it was amazing to notice that even children of age 16 didn't know how to use scissors, for example. So you could see suddenly the importance of kindergarten and where you have these exercises, and also the fact that they don't have the most simple materials at home to ever draw or cut or paste anything, which is one of the reasons why we put so much attention on that in the schools, of course. It's also quite a challenge each time to make sure the children don't get bored or overexcited, and there we use different energizers and calming down techniques. Here you see lots of handicrafts at the different summer course. On the next slide, we see the Saturday Values clubs, which the schools also offer here at the ABC for Life School, storytelling. So then the school on Saturday has 2 or 3 hour sessions where children from the school, but also from the neighborhood can come to participate in the Human Values Club. And as we can see at the next slide, they even take advantage of the club to then clean the neighborhood, an activity they really enjoyed, whereas normally it was seen as inferior if we asked the children to pick up something or to clean something. Some of the parents would really get upset, like how dare we use their children for that? Whereas if they see it as a community project and we bought a new broom for them and gave them a face mask, suddenly they were very happy to clean their neighborhood. So that was a wonderful thing. Another thing is that in 2 of the 3 schools, we have a school garden where we grow some of the food for the schools, some of the vegetables, and of course teach children about growing plants and enjoying nature. Next slide. As a little conclusion here, yeah, I learned it's really important to be fully available because that's of course what we want as a parent, as a teacher, as a co-worker, as a person. But it's a really good example. It's very important. And again, to be an example and to practice what you preach, to be punctual, of course, to be honest, to show how you welcome children in the classroom by welcoming the trainees, the teachers in that way, to start each day with silent sitting or with offering the day in one way or another. But the silent sitting, yeah, I think it's really important. As I said, to be creative and to adapt to the local situation. For example, we had a story about a little girl that was always lying, and the parents didn't know what to do anymore. So they finally took her to see this wise man, and he gave her a necklace. And he told her, please, please, don't lie anymore. Your parents get so unhappy, and you will be very unhappy yourself. Take this necklace and promise me, don't lie. And the child went back to school, and she had missed 2 days of school to go see this wise man. So, of course, all her friends would ask her, well, where were you? What happened? And she just said, oh, I went to see my grandmother. She was sick. And immediately the necklace started changing color. All the children were scared and really surprised. And so the girl says, no, 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 no. I went to see a wise man who gave me this necklace. And then immediately the necklace became its own color again. And later on, a child asked her, oh, can I hold your necklace? Can you take it off? And she said, oh, yeah, here it is. But she knew she couldn't take it off. So immediately the necklace became really tight around her neck. And she says, no, 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 I can't take it off. I can't take it off. And so little by little, she learned not to lie anymore. And when she went back a year later, she had completely lost the habit of lying. And she had become a very honest girl. So we told this story, and then we wanted to have the children make a little bracelet, but there were no beads available. There was no good string available. So then I thought, well, maybe we can buy straws, colored straws, and we just cut them in little pieces. There were no colored straws. Ultimately, what we found were transparent straws and very ugly brown common thread. But nevertheless, the children cut the straws, used the thread, and they still had their little necklace as a souvenir because we just had to adapt to the situation, and that was what we could do on that particular day. Yeah, let everyone shine. Of course, that's what we all do, to let people show their talent. I was really happy to receive a little video yesterday itself where one of the girls in a new summer camp that we just started for the first time ever in this neighborhood was dancing in front of many, many other children. And I was so surprised because she felt comfortable enough to show that and to shine in her own way. So in the last photo, you just see me with the children at ABC for Life when I was there in 2019. And I really consider these children as my children. It's so wonderful to be in touch with the schools nearly every day through the directors and some of the teachers, and to see how these children thrive and are happy, and to be connected through the heart. Jay Saira. That was it. So I hope you all have many questions.
Muchas gracias, Katinka, por esta bellísima presentación. Thank you so much, dear Katinka, for the presentation. It was beautiful. Ahora queremos invitarlos para que puedan hacer preguntas. Así que bienvenidos. Si quieren hacer alguna pregunta, por favor, pueden hacerla. Mientras alguien está listo para hacer alguna pregunta, realmente siento que es una experiencia única. Imagínense un ser humano que tiene la tranquilidad como cualquiera de nosotros de estar en un lugar tranquilo, en donde tenemos una casa cómoda y no hay dificultades, pero cuando sabemos que hay algo difícil en otra parte del mundo, volamos para poder ayudar. Eso es lo que ha hecho Katinka y ha hecho
Es más
posible que...
fácil. It is easier because there was such incredible love that flowed, and it was so unbelievable to be able to help and do something. I have never felt so much love in my life. So I really feel grateful that I was brought to Haiti and that I got to know the people there, their incredible resilience, their amazing um, courage and faith, especially. They live purely on faith. They have nothing else to rely on. So I'm learning every day, and I'm so grateful for that contact. And whenever I feel a little discouraged, the head of the school picks me up. And whenever he feels a little discouraged, I can give him some courage to go on. But it's truly a journey of inspiration and gratitude, honestly.
Así es. Creo que esto es una experiencia de humildad y de gratitud, que además tiene lugar en una parte del mundo como muchas hay en este momento, en donde hay incluso riesgo de la vida propia por estar en lugares así. Esa es la razón por la cual Katinka hoy en día está ayudando a la población de Haití, estas tres escuelas que continúan monitoreando y acompañando a través de sus sesiones online. De verdad ha sido una muestra inspiradora de amor, de entrega, y claro, podemos sentir la alegría que siente tan enorme
Mm.
Katinka con esta experiencia. Creo que todos salimos favorecidos cuando hemos servido de esta manera. Bueno, no sé si hay preguntas, quizás alguno tenga preguntas que quiera escribir en el chat, que no lo veo por acá. Mientras se animan a hacer preguntas, les quiero contar que Katinka tiene preparado un documento con actividades cooperativas. Así que vamos a traducirlo para podérselos enviar, de modo que tengan ideas de cómo llevar a la práctica algunas de las actividades de las que ella nos habló. Bueno,
And one more thing I wanted to tell is that for the last 3 years, someone in Belgium who's a SSCHV teacher has been preparing lessons that we share with the teachers because it's quite difficult to make a good human values lesson, as you know, and it really helps the teachers a lot to receive this lesson that is quite elaborate so that they can adapt it to their age group and to their classroom. But this has been really, really helpful. And so I just wanted to mention that.
muy importante lo que nos estás mencionando, porque fíjate que muchas veces quizás hemos estado enfrente de situaciones donde no sabemos qué hacer. Hablábamos desde el inicio, antes de crear este espacio del Mundo Vibra en Valores, de preguntas que también tenían nuestros hermanos en el Instituto de Argentina sobre cómo hacemos con esta situación. O recuerdan también a Esma que nos decía que ella no sabía cómo iban a darse estos talleres. Y lo mismo le ha pasado a Katinka. Hay momentos en donde ella dice, ¿cómo hacemos aquí? Y a veces es de la nada que vamos construyendo, simplemente desde el amor, desde la alegría, desde la certeza de que este programa de educación en valores humanos nos da las herramientas para ayudar a que el mundo sea mejor y vibre en valores. Por eso nos parece tan inspirador y tan bello que haya, como decía Graciela cuando arrancamos hoy nuestra reunión, personas desde tantas partes del mundo, cada uno de nosotros como pequeñas chispas, aportando a la luz
Mm.
del mundo, que se unen para poder compartir lo que logramos hacer, aunque a veces sintamos que no sabemos, pues no desfallezcamos, no nos asustemos, simplemente tengamos la certeza de que hay cómo hacerlo y que entre todos podemos ayudarnos para que así sea. Creo que los dejaste sin palabras porque no hay ninguna pregunta.
Estuvo muy
Sí.
claro y qué suerte lo del material, es fantástico eso de actividades cooperativas, sirve muchísimo. Y toda la experiencia, sobre todo las actividades también que iba relatando,
Mm.
deben estar en ese
Gracias.
documento.
Espero que pueda ayudar. Sí.
Sí,
Seguro que sí, es una ayuda enorme cuando cada uno sabe que tiene una posibilidad de ayudar a otro que no sabe en un momento dado como por dónde atender una dificultad, como en el caso de la niña que decía mentiras, o cuando tenemos un niño que está muy indisciplinado y pelea con otro, como el caso que nos contaste de los dos niños que estaban peleándose y los pusieron a trabajar para que llevaran el agua a la gente. Son
la comida.
herramientas maravillosas que nos ofrece la conciencia de que no hay que castigar. Lo que hay es que encontrar maneras para poder entender cómo llegarle a ese ser humano que está listo para florecer. Solo necesita que le demos el espacio para hacerlo. Entonces, creo que estas charlas son muy importantes y muchas gracias, Katinka, nuevamente por tu bellísima presentación. Gracias, Raksha. He estado viendo que entran los mensajitos todo el tiempo con tus traducciones, de verdad maravilloso, porque tanto la presentación como la traducción van a permitir que esta conferencia se comparta a muchas otras personas que hoy no logran estar por temas de horario. Así que no sé si Nati o alguien más del instituto quiera decir algo para que podamos cerrar.
Eh, Bueno, yo puedo decir que la verdad que muy agradecidos por, por este ciclo de conferencias que nos están aportando muchísimo porque son experiencias concretas y experiencias también en situaciones con dificultad. que eso vale muchísimo, que es en realidad a donde apuntamos en las clases con los niños, como los hospitales y las escuelas Satyasai. Es para realmente para el que no tiene la oportunidad, para el que más necesita, para que se encuentra en situaciones complicadas. Así que nos viene muy bien y realmente también nos estamos sorprendiendo con experiencias de otra parte del continente que en definitiva se parecen a las que todos vivimos en estos contextos de servicio. Muchísimas gracias, Esther, por estar en todo esto y a Katinka, a Raksha y a todos.
Muchas gracias,
Muchas
Nat,
gracias.
muchas gracias. Yo
Muchas
siento que
gracias.
hay una sed de valores humanos. Recuerdo cuando estábamos en una oportunidad en Colombia, en una parte también muy, muy vulnerable, cerca de Cartagena. Teníamos una clase en donde cabían entre 25 y 30 niños, pero teníamos que dejar las ventanas abiertas porque hacía tanto, tanto calor, más de 35 grados con tantos niños dentro era difícil
Mm.
y los niños del pueblo entraban por las ventanas. Ellos querían ir a la clase y una vez tuvimos 75 niños dentro de la clase y éramos con el agua que caía por la cara y todos los niños iban a cantar y querían cantar y más y más. Realmente el mundo vibra en valores. Todos tenemos sed de valores, así que me parece inspirador y bellísimo este espacio que creamos entre todos. Muchas gracias y nos vemos el próximo mes con una experiencia también preciosa. En el chat
Ok.
tienes un agradecimiento, dos agradecimientos, te dicen, Katinka, una experiencia hermosa y de mucho aprendizaje. Muchas gracias por compartirla. Gracias por la hermosa inspiración. Bellísimo. Bueno,
Y
así
quería decir algo, Esther, para que le transmitas a Katinka, no sé si comprende algo de español, que no solamente agradecidos por la experiencia en sí misma que cuenta, sino por su espíritu de servicio, de sacrificio, por todo su empeño en transmitir, en ayudar, eso de que haya ido a Haití, a todos los países donde ha llevado talleres de valores o su ayuda, es tan inspirador como el relato de la actividad en sí misma.
así
That
es.
is the gift of God. Gracias. Yeah,
Sí,
that's not me. Yeah, thank you. Mm.
qué linda. Katinka dice, hay que darle gracias a Dios, no a mí. Y en realidad todos sabemos a quién tenemos que darle las gracias, así que gracias a Swami, a este maestro maravilloso, que es nuestro maestro, que nos ha enseñado este programa de valores humanos que compartimos con tanta alegría a través del mundo. Entonces, que el mundo siga vibrando en valores y nos vemos
Gracias.
dentro de un
Bueno,
mes.
gracias, thank you.
Bye bye.
Gracias. Goodbye. Bye then.
Bye.